Let's check in with our NBC News political director, Chuck Todd, who's been looking at the calculus being made by some of those non-winning candidates tonight who are nevertheless deciding to stay in the race. Chuck?
Well, Rachel, I've talked to both the Huntsman and Gingrich campaigns about this very issue, right? And the Gingrich campaign, obviously, they made this decision. It's South Carolina or a bust for them. They got the big donor, the big donation, Sheldon Adelson, the casino mogul out in Vegas, to give the big money to an alternative super PAC for them to go after Romney. So they had made this calculus. They didn't care where they finished here in New Hampshire. But Huntsman was interesting, and in talking with their strategists, they say this: getting the third place means maybe they think it's important for them to go to South Carolina, because even if they only get 10%, if they can help deny Romney victory in South Carolina, it stretches the race. Goes to Florida, a place maybe Huntsman does a little bit better, but does the same thing, denies Romney victories. The whole strategy now for the Gingrich campaign, for the Huntsman campaign, is actually the same: deny Romney victories. And if they can do that, then maybe they can stretch it out. Maybe they find out Romney might have more of a glass jaw than maybe he does. I think we're going to find out in the next 10 days whether he does have a glass jaw or not. But that's the strategy. Stay in the race. And in Huntsman's case, he's not looking at winning any of these states. He's simply looking at denying Romney victories. And so he hopes to be pulling votes from Romney's left, Rachel.
It's interesting. We are starting to see that, I think, from a lot of the different candidates right now. The idea is to stick around in case Romney faceplants. Stick around in case something happens to Mitt Romney or something is done to Mitt Romney to take him out.
Right.
Still be in the race when that happens.
Yeah, they're all the, break glass in case candidate implodes candidates, right? And the little elephants break the glass. Here I am, And the fact is, if you're a Huntsman, you see everybody else has moved up and down. He's still waiting for his moment, so maybe the point is, if he stays in long enough, something happens.
Well, let me ask you one last question, Chuck. And you look at Rick Santorum, John Huntsman, Newt Gingrich, Rick Perry, who has not been a factor in New Hampshire, but who will be a factor in South Carolina. All of these candidates who not only have their own campaign resources, but have access to quirky billionaires who may or may not be their dad, who may or may not want to give them money to carpet bomb in the next couple of states. Is there any difference in strategy from any of those four toward Mitt Romney, or are they all on board with the Mitt Romney corporate raider attack that we've seen Newt Gingrich play up so much in the last couple of days?
No, they actually have different strategies. I mean, Santorum, you saw, he's not going to go there. He's not going to touch it. I think Santorum's strategy is pretty clear. Play up his cultural conservative credentials in South Carolina. Hope that the mud between Gingrich and Romney that gets exchanged creates a factor that we've seen a lot of times in multi-candidate fields, which is candidate A attacks candidate B attacks candidate A, and candidate C ends up winning the primary or winning that election. So I think we're going to see a straightforward Santorum strategy that way. But yes, I think Perry and Gingrich seem to be double teaming that. And then you've got, of course, what we've talked about earlier, the Romney-Paul sort of non-aggression pact, if you will, and Paul even defending Romney against these charges. That's helpful to him at some point, because anytime you can have a surrogate pushback rather than having to do it yourself, it's always better. But they are all in this sort of deny Romney victory strategy if they ever want to find their way back, and at some point they're going to turn on each other. Newt Gingrich told me today, I said, so what, I said, when you just do the simple math in South Carolina, if you and Santorum split conservatives 50-50, Romney wins with somewhere between 35 and 40%. And Gingrich said to me, you know what, let's see what happens early next week. Let's see how these ads hit, and maybe conservatives will start consolidating around him. He thinks, of course, Santorum is hoping it's the other way around, but at some point, there's a big meeting this weekend of a lot of social conservatives, movement conservatives that don't want Romney as the nominee, and their goal is to try to figure out if they can consolidate behind one of the two, Gingrich or Santorum. Maybe that happens this weekend in favor of one over the other.
And with Mitt Romney having now won in Iowa and New Hampshire, anybody who really wants it to not be Mitt Romney, these are desperate times. And if there are desperate measures available, now's the time to go for them. Chuck Todd, thank you for this. We'll be checking back in with you again. Appreciate it.